Hello everyone, myself Sindhu, lecturer in zoology, BGS First Grade College, Kuvempu Nagar, Mysore. In this class I am going to discuss about phylum Aschelminthes. Last class we were discussing about the phylum Platyhelminthes, which means flatworms, and in this class I am going to explain about the Aschelminthes. Here this Aschelminthes is also known as, or this phylum is also called as Nematyhelminthes. Okay, Nematyhelminthes. Here this organisms which comes under the Aschelminthes are commonly called as nematode worms, or we can also call it as the roundworms, okay. And coming to the first point, here they are free living, most of them are free living, and some are parasitic forms. Parasitic forms in humans and other vertebrates. Okay, it is a parasite in human and other vertebrates, and they are very tiny worms. They are tiny worms shaped, tiny worm shape. They are very small, very tiny, with small body size. Okay, and they are pseudocoelom. So they have the false body cavity, or they are pseudocoelomates. Okay. Pseudo refers to false, coelom refers to cavity. Organisms having the false body cavity, and they are triploblastic, which means the body wall is made up of three germ layers: outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, and the inner endoderm. That is what the triploblastic body wall is made up of. Triplo refers to three germ layers, and they are bilaterally symmetrical and they have the unsegmented body. So they are nothing but the unsegmented worms. Okay, bilaterally symmetrical and unsegmented worms. Here they have cuticle. Okay, body is covered by the cuticle. The outermost layer of the body is covered by the cuticle, and here cilia is absent. And alimentary canal is straight. They have the straight alimentary canal and complete type of digestive system, which means we have two types, one is incomplete and another one is complete type. Here this roundworms have a complete type of digestive system, which means both the openings will be present. Anterior opening will be referred as mouth and the posterior opening will be referred as the anus. Okay, both the openings will be present, hence they are called as complete type of digestive system. Coming to the respiratory and circulatory system, in case of roundworms, respiratory systems as well as the circulatory system is absent. Okay, and excretion or excretory system is by protonephridia. Okay, primitive type of kidney. And here nervous system consists of nerve ring, along with that longitudinal nerves. Longitudinal nerves also present, and here sexes are separated. Okay, males and females are separated. Sexual dimorphism is present. Male is separate and female is separate. Sexes are separated. An example for this particular phylum, which seems to be very common, that is Ascaris. Okay, Ascaris are nothing but the roundworms, commonly called as roundworm, and the scientific name is Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay, Ascaris lumbricoides, which is the first example, and the second example is Ancylostoma duodenate. Okay, Ancylostoma duodenate, and the last one is Wuchereria bancrofti. Okay, Wuchereria bancrofti. These are the three examples for the phylum Aschelminthes, and we are going to study the morphology as well as the life cycle, along with that the preventive measures and the treatment, okay, for this particular worms. So let's start with the first example, that is Ascaris lumbricoides. Here this particular worm is a endoparasite of humans as well as apes, pigs and cattle. Okay, humans as well as apes, pigs and cattle. Here we can see in case of this, particularly in case of Ascaris, they are monogenetic. They are monogenetic. Okay, monogenetic means it completes its life cycle within only one host. Digenetic means two hosts. Monogenetic means a single host. Okay, it may be human or it may be apes, pigs or cattle. Single host will be present. Okay, then their body is colorless. Okay, colorless body. External cuticle is whitish or yellowish in color. Okay, external cuticle will be whitish or yellowish in color, and they have the definite reddish tint. Okay, on the body surface they have the reddish tints, patches of red color, and that is because of the presence of hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin pigment will be present. That's why the external or the outer surface of the body is kind of a reddish in color. Okay, red patches will be present. And coming to the body morphology of the body, they are very long. Okay, cylindrical body or tube shaped body, and both the ends will be tapering at both the ends, which means a pointed ends. Both anterior end as well as the posterior end will be pointed. Okay, females are usually larger. When we talk about the Aschelminthes, usually females will be always larger. Okay, the length of the body will be larger compared to the males, and female is about 8 to 16 inches in length. Okay, this is the female diagram and this will be the male diagram. Females are usually 8 to 16 inches in length, 16 inches in length, and males are 4 to 6 inches in length, very small compared to the females. And in males, posterior end is curved. So consider this is the anterior end, this will be the posterior end. Usually anterior end possesses a mouth opening, and the posterior end, it has the anus. Okay, along with that it also have the perineal spicules. Okay, it has the perineal spicules. Here this particular posterior end is curved. It will be always curved in case of male Ascariasis, but in case of females it is not curved. Okay, it is not curved. Female genital aperture is called vulva or gonopore. Okay, this particular structure is the female genital aperture. Okay, female genital aperture is called gonopore or vulva, and here as I told you before, cloacal aperture possesses the chitinous spicules, also called as perineal spicules. So this is about the morphology of Ascaris lumbricoides. Here sexes are separated so that we can see male Ascaris as well as the female Ascaris. The thing you have to remember is male's posterior end is always curved. That is what the important thing. And here in case of females it is not curved. Posterior end will be elongated or straight always. Okay, this is about the morphology. So coming to the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides or the roundworm, here we consider the host, that is human. Okay, human host, and as I told you before, it is a monogenetic. Okay, it is a monogenetic having a single host. It completes its life cycle in a single host. Okay, and as in case of tapeworms, it is a digenetic in nature. It completes its life cycle within the two hosts. Okay, here it is a monogenetic. So here what happens is copulation and fertilization occurs in the human intestine. In the human intestine, copulation and fertilization occurs, followed by the female worms. Female Ascaris lays eggs. Okay, it lays eggs and it is called as mammillated eggs. Female lays eggs and it is called as mammillated eggs. Okay. So, it lays about 15,000 to 2 lakhs eggs. Okay. It lays about 15,000 to 2 lakhs eggs per day. In a single day, it lays about 15,000 to 2 lakhs eggs, and in a lifetime it lays about 27 millions eggs. In a lifetime, the total lifetime, it lays about 27 millions eggs. Per day it lays about 15 to 2 lakh eggs. Okay. Then what happens is, after 10 to 14 days, this particular larva, okay, that hatches into the particular egg, okay, this particular eggs, mammillated eggs, hatches out into a larva called rhabditiform larva. Rhabditiform larva. After 10 to 14 days, this particular mammillated eggs hatches out into rhabditiform larva, and here the larva passes out in feces. Okay, this particular larva passes out from the host body through the feces and reach the soil. Okay. When this particular larva reaches the soil through the feces, human feces, then what happens is, it contaminate the soil. Okay. That particular soil is with the larva. Okay. Then what happens is, when the human beings or the man consume or intake the contaminated food and water, then the particular larva reaches into the human intestine. Okay. It goes and settles in the human intestine, and here what happens is, the larva hatches into juvenile. And that is 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter in length. Okay. 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter in length. Okay. So, here what happens is, through the contaminated food and water, the particular larva, reaches the human intestine. So, in the human intestine, this larva hatches out into juvenile, which measures about 0.2 to 0.3 mm in length, and here development does not take place. In case of intestine, in the human intestine, development will not take place. Instead, it go on a wandering of tour for 10 days. Okay. In here, from the intestine it moves into liver, then it moves into heart, followed by lungs, then intestine. Okay. Then again it comes back to intestine. So, for this traveling, for this wandering of tour, it takes around 10 days. Okay. So, in case of intestine, larva hatches into juvenile, but development will not take place in the intestine of the human. Instead, it goes to the wandering of tour, or it travels from intestine to liver, liver to heart, heart to lungs, then again come back to the intestine. So, for this or during this period, what happens is, this particular larva hatches out into, or this particular juvenile develops into an adult male and female. Okay. Juvenile develops into adult male and female. So, from the juvenile to adult, it takes around 60 to 70 days. Okay. 60 to 70 days. Then what happens is, it attains, the adult male and female attains the sexual maturity. Then the cycle will be continuous. Okay. This is about the life cycle of the Ascaris lumbricoideae. So, coming to the pathogenicity of the Ascaris, here in single host, okay, in single host, 500 to 5,000 adult worms are present, adult Ascaris are present. Okay. In a single host, inside the single host, Around 500 to 5000 adults are present, adult ascaris are present, and this ascaris causes the abdominal discomfort or the abdominal pain and colic pains. Okay, it causes abdominal discomforts and colic pains, and also results in diarrhea and vomiting. It also results in the diarrhea and vomiting, and it injures the intestine and causes peritonitis. Okay, so peritonitis means it is a kind of inflammation, and by this it may result into the death or fatal. Okay. So then this particular disease which is caused by Ascaris lumbricoides is called as ascariasis. Okay, the disease name is called as ascariasis. Okay, the disease which is caused by the worm, roundworm or the ascaris is called as ascariasis, and here the pathogenicity is kind of abdominal pain or colic pains, diarrhea and vomiting, and the peritonitis, which means the inflammation. Okay, and coming to the preventive measures, here the preventive measures are maintaining or keeping a good sanitary condition. This is one of the preventive measure, and pollution of soil with human feces should be avoided. So pollution of the soil with human feces should be avoided, and vegetables are thoroughly washed and properly cooked before consuming, and fingers or fingernails should be regularly cut, and it should be clean always. So these are the few preventive measures of this particular worm, that is Ascaris lumbricoides. So coming to the second example, that is Ancylostoma duodenale. Here what happens is, it is commonly called as hookworms. It is commonly called as hookworms, and it is an endoparasite of human. Okay, it is an endoparasite of human. Here in case of this, adults are small. Adults are very small and they are cylindrical in shaped. Okay, cylindrical shaped. Here sexes are separated. Male and females are separated, and females are usually larger. Okay, in case of all ascaris, usually females are larger than the males. Females measures about 8 millimeter in length. Okay, female measures about 8 millimeter in length and 0.4 millimeter in diameter. Okay, sorry, it is males 8 millimeter in length, and the female diameter 0.4 millimeter in diameter. Okay, here females are usually larger than the males. Male measures about 8 mm in length and 0.4 mm in diameter, whereas the females, they are generally large. They measures about 12.5 millimeter in length and 0.6 millimeter in diameter. Okay, and they are reddish brown in color due to the ingested blood. Okay, the body color is reddish brown because of the ingested blood, and anterior end of worm is slightly bent. Okay, anterior end. Okay, the top end or the anterior end is slightly bent dorsally, hence the name is called hookworm. Okay, this particular end or the anterior end is dorsally bent, slightly bent, hence they are called as hookworm. Okay, it somewhat look like a hook, that's why it is called as a hookworm. Okay, this is a diagrammatic representation. So this will be the male worm and this will be the female worm. As I told you before, males are smaller compared to the females. Here anterior end possesses a opening called mouth, and in case of females you can see the excretory pore next to the very nearer to the anterior end. Okay, and followed by we have the gonophore and the anus. Okay, so in case of males we can see the cloacal aperture. This is the diagrammatic representation of the ancylostoma. So it is commonly called as hookworm. Okay, and coming to the life cycle of the ancylostoma, here what happens is the copulation occurs in the intestine of the human. Host is human. In the human intestine, copulation occurs and fertilization occurs, and female lays around 9,000 eggs per day. Okay, female worms lays around 9,000 eggs per day, and here what happens is the eggs which is laid by the female ancylostoma, that passes out with the feces, and here what happens is around 48 hours this eggs molts twice and develops a larva, and this particular larva is called as filariform larva. Okay, this particular larval form is called as filariform larva, and this particular stage is an infective stage. Okay, it is an infective stage. This larva is an infective larva, and what happens is this particular larva enters to the human skin. Okay, enters to the human skin and penetrates into the lymphatic vessels, and from the lymphatic vessel it moves into heart, lungs, trachea, larynx, pharynx, and comes to the small intestine, Okay, from the larval form, which is an infective stage, it reaches the human skin and it penetrates into the human skin and reaches the lymphatic vessel. From the lymphatic vessel, heart, it goes into the heart, then it goes into the lungs, and followed by trachea, larynx, pharynx, and small intestine, and then it completely develops into an adult male and female, worm. Okay. So then what happens is, after complete development, this particular adult male and female worms attains the maturity, and again copulation occurs. Copulation and fertilization occurs, and the cycle will be continued. Okay. This is about the life cycle of the ancylostoma, which is commonly called as hookworms. Coming to the pathogenicity, anemia is one of the most kind of pathogenicity, that is anemia. Here this particular worm, ancylostoma, that ruptures the intestine wall. Okay, ruptures the intestine, it cuts the intestine wall. Hence what happens is excess of blood loss takes place, and in case of children, physical and mental retardation will be there. Okay, children will be more vulnerable, and here physical retardation as well as mental retardation will be seen, and abdominal pain along with the diarrhea and constipation seems to be common. Okay. So here constipation are nothing but the tight motion. Okay. Then irritation and inflammation will be seen. Okay. These are the few pathogenicity of this disease. Here, coming to the preventive measures, here preventive measure is nothing but avoid touching the soil. Okay, we have to keep our hands and nails very clean, and improving sanitary condition. This is one of the preventive measure. Okay, and children should be keep their hands and nails clean. Okay, these are the few preventive measures. Okay, we have to maintain our sanitary condition, good sanitary condition. That is what the important thing. So this is about the second example, that is ancylostoma. duodenale. Okay. So here the last example is Wuchereria brancophti. Here this particular worm is called as filarial worm. This is commonly called as filarial worm. It is an endoparasite of human and culex. Okay, it is an endoparasite of human and culex mosquito. Okay, here human is a primary host and the culex is a secondary host. Human is a primary and the culex mosquito is a secondary host. Here what happens is, coming to the morphology of the Wuchereria brancophti, you can see the anterior end as well as the posterior end. Anterior end is with a mouth opening and below that you can see the nephridia or nephridial pore, okay, and at the posterior end we can see the opening called anus, and here this particular worms are a thread-like, they have the thread-like body and they are very transparent, creamy white in color, very transparent, creamy white in color, somewhat creamish white in color. And here as I told you before, usually males are smaller compared to the females. Females are usually larger. And coming to the life cycle of this particular worm, that is filarial worm, here in case of this, they have the two hosts, which means a digenetic, as I told you before, two hosts. One is culex mosquito and another one is the human. These are the two hosts, okay, that is why they are digenetic in nature. Here what happens is the infected mosquito bites to the human, okay, infected mosquito bites, then through the mosquito, the filaria enters to the lymphatic vessel, Then what happens is, this microfilaria is a larval form, okay, it is a larval form of this particular worm. Then it reaches the lymphatic gland. In the lymphatic gland, it becomes or it develops into adult male and female. Then what happens is, after developing developing as an adult male and female, it attains the sexual maturity. Then after that copulation occurs, okay, then it produces the microfilaria larva, okay, copulation and fertilization occurs and forms the microfilarial larva. So up to this, the particular worm completes its life cycle in human host, okay, followed by the secondary host is the culex mosquito. So here what happens is, the normal mosquito or the mosquito which sucks the blood from the infected man, okay, what happens is, this particular larva, that is microfilaria larva, enters into the mosquito, okay, because the mosquito sucks the blood from this particular host, human host. Then what happens is, this microfilaria reaches the first stage, okay, it reaches the first stage, then followed by the second stage, then the third stage, okay. So that's it reaches the third stage, and from here this third stage enters to the human host through the mosquito bite, okay, and the cycle will be continued. So this is about the life cycle of the Wuchereria brancophti, that is commonly called as filarial worm. It is an endoparasite and it is a digenetic in nature, almost thread-like structure, transparent and creamy white in color, okay. Coming to the pathogenicity, so the disease which is caused by filarial worm or the Wuchereria is called as, that particular disease is called as Wuchereriasis, okay, or we can also call it as filariasis, okay, and this particular disease may result into the disease or particular, this is called elephantiasis. Okay, elephantiasis means here enormous swelling of the particular parts such as arm, legs, scrotum, etc. So here enormous swelling takes place. Okay, that is what is called as elephantiasis or elephant leg disease, we can also say it as. Okay, this is about the pathogenicity, and the only preventive measure, coming to the preventive measure, the only preventive measure is to protect ourselves from the mosquito bite, okay, from the mosquito bite, that is Culex mosquito. So this is about the preventive measure, the only measure. Okay. Coming to the parasitic adaptations in Helminthes, as I told you before, these worms, they have the cuticle, okay, the outer body is covered with a cuticle which is very thick and spiny in nature, that protects the worms from the digestive enzymes. Okay, that is one of the important parasitic adaptations, and they do not have the digestive system. Okay, they have the tegument. Tegument, they have the tegument which is very permeable in nature. So through this they can absorb the nutrition and water, and so the digestive system is absent. Along with that, the anterior end of the body or the anterior end of the worms, which is provided with the hook, okay, hook, suckers as well as spines, that helps the worm to firm attachment, okay, firm attachment in the host body. That is one of the important adaptation. And here what happens is they do not possess the locomotor structures or a kind of cilia. Since they are endoparasite, they do not possess any kind of locomotory organs, and here the locomotory structures are completely absent. So this is about the parasitic adaptations in Helminthes. Yeah, thank you.